Welcome. You're listening to A Night at the Roundtable. We're coming to you live from bbsradio.com, Station 2. I'm your host for this evening, Caroline Oceana Ryan. I'm an author and channeler, and I'm here with my really amazing co-hosts, gifted psychic medium and soul historian Omena McGee, energy healer and bioenergetics expert Vinayak, energy healer Randy Miller, and Faction 3 White Knights, Rama Berkowitz and Tara Green. So our guest for the second hour will be Buddhist author Vaughn D. Galt. So she will be on, and please do call into the show. We'll be talking about mandalas and sacred geometry. And if you hate the idea of anything having to do with math, please don't panic, because this is an amazing subject, and she's written quite a revelatory book. So if you've got a question for any of us, for our guests, for the co-hosts, or just a general question about Nasara law or about what we're discussing, we're happy to speak with you. Please do call in. The numbers to call for Station 2 are 888-429-5471. That's 888-429-5471. Or you can call 323-744-4841. That's 323-744-4841. So to start us off, as always, we're really blessed to have a very short but very meaningful meditation from our friend Angel Sue. So I'll pass the talking stick to our lovely Angel Sue.
Thank you so much, my dear. And yet again, if you will claim yourselves as the divine child that you are, and let all your energy come from the head down into the heart space, where things are slower, yet more powerful. And you're welcome here to do any energy work or healing work. All of it is a marvelous place to enhance whatever you're doing. So you have your own group that I'd like you to bring forward as you claim your higher self to come forward and be with you now. Your beloved twin flame, your guides, your masters, your teachers, your angels, your councils of light. And this is one of them, the councils of light that you're part of. We all are together. Also, all those of the lighted heart from the many different realms of creation. People who celebrate the path you are choosing consciously to walk. And so as these beloved ones gather with you here in the heart space, if you have a favorite place that you go within the heart space, please do that now, or pretend or imagine that there's a place just special for you and those that work with you. And as you go to that place, there is one of the masters of the heart space there to greet you. And you're asked to get comfortable, whether you're sitting or laying or floating or however you wish to be this evening. You're being handed a small, flat, emerald green disc that fits easily in the palm of your hand, and you're being given two of them actually to hold healing for whatever concerns you're going to be working with. Emerald green, it just almost is so glowing with that light. You might feel coolness. You might feel a nice warmth. But it just fits so comfortably in your hand as it's being passed out by one of the masters. And with this, please think about what you're encountering as challenges, health challenges right now. Mine was a mild form of food poisoning today, my own fault. And just all the other labels or fears, apprehensions, all that you're encountering through this phase of the energy enhancements and calibrations and the upping of our planet into the higher dimensions. And if you will just take that perfect breath where you encounter that feeling of your body feeling as wonderful as possible. Just whatever you've experienced where you've just felt, oh, so good. And these beautiful emerald discs enhance what you're doing. It magnifies it and anchors it deep, deep, deep within you and deep into the center of the planet and deep up into the courts of heaven. You're really connected, honey. So as you allow this addressing and giving gratitude for what you're going through, you can include those that you love, those that you claim in your life, associates, the entire bit of creation, if you wish. And let this divine emerald green light go everywhere. But you most of all, so you can hold it for the entire planet. So with this perfect breath, you just take in a nice, easy inhale, and when you're ready, say the word peace as you're exhaling, and letting that pleasant, wonderful, happy feeling enhance even more for you and everybody else. Peace. We're holding this peace moment for Nasara and our Faction 3 White Knights and our galactic forces of light, as well as all the beings that we are drawing our connection to. And this is where we're going to pull in the law of one, the original law of creation. So it is the supreme law that all levels of dimension, their laws are subject to. And so welcome in all those beings that are working with you and the planet throughout creation. And with your big, big heart space, tell them that they are very much appreciated and respected. All the beings that you can see and all the beings that you can't see, that you know or don't even know of yet. But we are one with all there is. So this is where we say we are all one. And here in the heart space, it immediately snaps in. When one is harmed, all are harmed. Yet, as one is helped, for instance, with this emerald green light, then all are helped. And therefore, in the name of who we are, and we are one with all there is, we ask that only the highest good of all concerned happen here. And we're calling in throughout all time and space and all the dimensions and potentials, all of creation. Everything that will bring forth the divine, perfect, happy solution. And we give thanks that this is done in the office of the Christ, and for all things that are coming to you, enhanced with blessing and miracle and calibration. All of this. I wish you peace. And I'm handing back the talking stick now. Thank you for coming and doing the work that you do.
Really beautiful. Thank you so much, Angel Sue. So needed now, all images of healing and of peace, so needed now. So that's just wonderful. Thank you, as always. And so what we like to do is go around and see what everybody's got to say for themselves, any input, insights. We'll have a Faction 3 White Knight news update from our friends Rama and Tara. But Vinayak, would you like to start us off? Have you got any input or insights about the energies currently, or anything else on your mind?
Yes, greetings everyone. It's wonderful to be with all of you again. And I'm wondering if you know that you're an alchemist. And by that, I want to share with you a little process that Lori Ladd has been sharing on her YouTube. And you can go to her site on YouTube if you choose to. Lori is spelled Lorie. Ladd is with 2 Ds as in dog. And I've been learning from her that we can alchemize using our alchemy skills any and all discord that's going on, like the sex trafficking, and that seems to be the big headline right now because of Germain. And the great news is the judge ruled today that all of her documents will be unveiled and unlocked, and possibly even available for public viewing, which will include the flight records from Epstein. So it's very interesting. So as all of this gets released, or any fears that you may be experiencing, whatever that is, I'd like to invite you with this process to just feel the feelings that are coming up for you, and then alchemize it by choosing the greatest and the most beautiful vibration that you can create at that moment. Send love. You can send beauty. You can send peace. You can send freedom. Whatever word resonates for you, or vibration, or more importantly, what feeling resonates, send that to that energy that you just felt. And as the alchemists that we all are, we alchemize this program, and that's all it is a program that we've all been subjected to and bought into and schooled in and programmed into. So it's now time to be the light worker, the star gatherers, the beautiful beings that we are all here, ascending into the 5D, and we can all do this at any given time that we're experiencing whatever discord or uncomfortable feelings that may be showing up for us. So with that, I pass the talking stick. I want to acknowledge Angel Sue for that beautiful meditation. And back to you, Caroline. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vinayak. Always lovely to get your input. And so now I'm wondering, Omena, would you like to add any insights?
Yes. Does anybody know what today is? What day today is? I guess, yeah.
Today, the 23rd. Is it special?
The 23rd of July. It's a special day. It's Mary Magdalene's feast day.
Oh, wonderful.
So, what we can do is invoke her beautiful, wonderful, loving energy that we need desperately on this earth. It doesn't matter whether you are a believer or not, but everybody needs love. And she has lots of it. So I'm going to go asleep tonight with that wish and bring in that, activate the memories and activate the changes that she brought to the world. Unrecognized, of course, because she was a woman. So, I don't know if anybody saw on the floor today where AOC, Alexandra, AOC, gave a speech about being disrespected by a regular congressman. And Mr. Yoho, I think his name was, and called her some nasty things. And she gave a wonderful, wonderful speech. Remind me of Mary Magdalene, because she's such a warrior soul and she did such a great job on it. It was for everyone that had a daughter, everyone that had a mother, everyone that had a wife. It was really, really very, very inspiring because she didn't make it political. She made it about the issue. I thought that was really, really good. So between that and the coronavirus, and I've seen all over the internet where, I don't know if any of you remember Freddie Mercury.
Sure.
Okay. Well, think of his music where at his huge big concert, the biggest ever in the world, where he says, "No mask on your face, you big disgrace, spreading your germs all over the place." I just thought that was funny, and I just loved it, so I just thought I would say it for everyone out there that if you don't want to wear a mask, no problem, just stay home. Mask it or casket, that's your choice. But you don't have a right to put me in a casket. So, other than that, I'm just going to go with the energy that's floating around, and I saw that the judge released all of Miss Maxwell's. She's going through papers, I guess. And that will be interesting. Other than that, I wish you all well. I enjoy the show. All the rest of you, I pass the talking stick.
All right. Thank you, Omena. Those are some beautiful thoughts. We'll have to look that up, each of us, online, to listen to Representative Ocasio-Cortez's comments. And
oh, you've got to. Yeah. It was just wonderful.
Did you see it on video?
Very inspiring.
Did you see it on video or?
Yes, I saw it on video on Facebook.
Okay, good. Then we can all find that easily, I'm sure, if you just
I'm sure
Google
it's on YouTube too.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. She's just brilliant. She's so powerful and so wonderful and cares so much for quality of life. What's that?
That's what they're afraid of.
Yes, exactly. And they want to squash that, but it's too late. The divine feminine is here and it's not going anywhere. It's not going to be repressed and squashed ever again. So, beautiful. And how wonderful that today's the feast day of Mary Magdalene. She has such a loving presence. Really, really beautiful. Thank you so much, my friend. Randy, are you there? Want to put your 2 cents in? I don't know if he was. He had to make a phone call, so I don't know if he's back yet. But I can tell you on my side of things, what the collective was saying. The wonderful group of higher beings I channel, full of archangels and angels and ascended masters and friendly, benevolent ETs and Fey elders, etc. But what they're saying is don't believe everything you hear or see, because there is a whole effort right now, an illusion being put out by the old regime to bring down people's energies as much as possible and cast them into despair, and also cast them into the opposite of unity, which is separatism, divisiveness, and viewing each other as a potential enemy, because you might have this horrible illness and sneeze on me, or you vote for the wrong people, or whatever, and you're the wrong color, or you're the wrong this or that. And they're just saying, don't buy into appearances, rise above all that. And remember who you are, which is a being of love and light who exists in the present moment. And don't leap ahead in your thinking. The timeline is shifting very, very fast images, very fast decisions, and support for all things sacred, all things holy and sacred is flowing to this planet on unprecedented levels. So just remain in that, just stay in that beautiful state, and take care of your health. Drink a lot of pure water. Get a lot of rest. Pure food, as pure as you can make it. Better to eat just a bit, rather than a lot that's rubbish. So let's make with the organic fruits and vegetables, please. So, all right. If Rama and Tara would like to give us their input and catch us up to date, I'll be furiously taking notes, I can tell you that much. So I'll pass the talking stick to our friends who are Faction 3 White Knights and who always have a lot of amazing stuff to share. And hopefully Rama heard from a contact or two today, but we'll find out. So Rama and Tara, are you there? Tossing the talking stick to you. Probably not supposed to be tossed, but sometimes they have trouble unmuting. So there we go.
There's some fairies on there and some angels that are gently landing it in our hands here.
All right, excellent. So we'll happy to hear your update.
Greetings. Yes, sister. Oops. Are you there, sister?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Rama.
What I could say is that, like our sister Omena said, Miss AOC has presented the goddess on the floor of the house, and I could just say earlier today spoke with Lady Master Nada, the Poppy Lady, and Catherine from England. And they all just said the goddess is stepping forward. The patriarchy is going to have to take a back seat. For the last 13,000 years, they've been messing with this planet and the energies, and the goddess is here. She ain't going anywhere. And it's only going to get more intense as these folks are going to have to mind their P's and Q's in their language, because the goddess takes no prisoners, as I understand it. It's at that level where the abuse is not going to be it stops here and now, as Miss AOC spoke up. And I went and stood on the mountain today and called the ships in and stood in the beam for about 15 minutes. And let's say that I got a download, and it is about this transformational moment we're in. right now as Pluto is doing its dance with the other planets, and Chiron is in the midst. And as the moon is getting full, and the things that are going on are everything that is unlike love having to come up right now. And I mean, Miss AOC said it all. I failed to have the words as eloquent as she has at the moment, because...
Would you like to play it? It's just a minute. I got it up
Sure.
there. Let's listen to this. There's no time like the president. Just continue for just one more moment while I...
Oh, okay. Also, in the wild stories out there, the New York Times has been playing around with letting out a major UFO article that is going into exposing what our Navy and the other military branches have been playing with, which is the deep state and the secret space program, and the other players that are not, let's say, exactly aligned with Lord Michael in the office of the Christ, but they are still other extraterrestrial races that have a vested interest in Earth and us. And let's say that when it all comes out in the wash, we have won. And
here's one of us that has won. And how about we listen to ASC there? This is for real, everybody. We are with the greatest of patience, the ones we've been waiting for, and I have all the patience of a saint. So let's do it together. Here we go.
Do you know the turmeric brand I trust?
About 2 days ago, I was walking up the steps of the Capitol when Representative Yoho suddenly turned a corner, and he was accompanied by Representative Roger Williams, and accosted me on the steps right here in front of our nation's Capitol. I was minding my own business, walking up the steps, and Representative Yoho put his finger in my face. He called me disgusting. He called me crazy. He called me out of my mind. And he called me dangerous.
That was Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the House floor today, describing the way her colleague, Republican Congressman Ted Yoho, confronted her on the steps of the Capitol building on Monday.
That's as far as we can go. I'm sorry, everybody, but there was more. Tom Hartman read the whole thing. I guess I should play that. But continue on, honey. I'll look for it. I want to continue, or do you want me to read?
Yeah, there was a lady that showed up in reference to what you're saying, Vinayak, in the little chat. Yes, because I put it on Facebook. Lady that had no clothes on except for these black pumps and a mask, and she sat down in front of all the cops in Portland, started doing yoga and ballet moves, and quietly went off, and they didn't touch her. But it's another way of the goddess coming forward and just saying, this ends now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yes.
That was powerful, wasn't it? She really had no fear.
No. And this is kind of that place where when you are walking with Lord Michael,
I can't read that. Can you?
Oh. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you some of the things she said. She said that she was raised by a mother and a father who taught her not to take abuse from men. And her father in the grave would not be very happy if she had. And she also says that Mr. Yoho had 2 daughters, and she was a couple of years younger than them, and a wife. And for him to talk to her like that, most certainly wasn't, on the thing that it wasn't a very good example for them. And she also said, men talking to women like that does not make him a decent human being. And she really was very elegant in what she said, and she definitely doesn't have any fear. But the sad thing about that, what I found later on, Mr. McCarthy comes up to try and defend this man's actions, okay? Because Yoho apologized, but he wouldn't apologize for his passion or for God or whatever family stuff like that. He didn't give her an apology at all. And it was like, if the man calls himself a Christian, he would never treat women like that, period. So she was very, very elegant in what she said and very poignant about it. And anyone that gets a chance, watch it, because she's a great example to all of us. Actually, I found her.
The chair has been made aware of the value.
Well, anyway, that's all I have to say about it, for anybody that didn't see it.
Thank you so much, Omena. That is great.
Yeah, she was great.
I would revise that to no man who is a true follower of Jesus' teachings. I've seen a lot of men who call themselves Christians who abused women, but a true follower of Yeshua would never do so. I agree.
Well, he called her the FB word.
Oh my gosh!
He called her an F and B word. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Pointing the finger at her, and she wasn't the only one who heard it. Somebody else heard it as well. Said how disgusting she was, and as she was walking away, she went in to pass her vote and came back out, and that's what he called her.
Yeah.
And he said,
not going to do
you're disgusting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was not going to do anything about it, but then I guess she thought about it because she says she could not go home and face her nieces.
Zach?
With allowing someone like that to get away with that kind of language, talking to a congresswoman.
Yeah.
But this is the old, excuse my expression, white-haired old men with way too much power and no respect.
Yep. I second that.
Yes. 100%.
So she really, she really called him out, and that takes a lot of courage, because you can be battered all over the place when you're in there, and a lot of women are battered all over the place. So she's speaking for them all, and you're absolutely right, Rama. The feminine energy is here. It has no fear. Women don't have a clue how powerful they are.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They don't have a clue how powerful they are.
I will say that they're learning, Omena.
Huh?
They are learning how powerful they are.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to do a workshop not to empower women. I'm going to do a workshop to pull the power out of them. Because to use the word empowering is assuming that they don't have any power.
Yes, true.
Okay.
Well, it can mean that they claim their power as well. That's how I take it, to remind somebody of power. But I love that take on it that you have.
Yes. Well, my take on it is it's in you. It's my job to pull it out of you.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Fantastic.
Oh, and Caroline, I just remember I've just heard this from my past growing up days from a lot of people. Let's just put it that way, I just lost it.
That's all right.
Oh, I'm from Missouri. Show me.
Okay.
You never heard that before? Nobody?
Yes, of course, but what do you show you what?
In other words, show me who you are. You don't have any power? You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that, but if we listen to people, they'll always tell us who they are.
Yeah, that's true, but no, show me. SHOW, show me.
Well, sometimes you have to. Unfortunately, what happens there is oftentimes women will only show their power if you back them up against a wall.
Yeah, then they're growling and hissing and
Well, the thing is, you know, it's like they're afraid. It's part of being afraid of your own power.
Exactly.
You know, so because over many centuries we've always been put down because of our power, and of course I grew up being told I was too powerful, and then I realized I don't give a you know what. I am who I am, and that's who I am. So I no longer worry about what people think of me. It's none of my business.
Women are very often hushed up, and it starts in childhood. So by the time they are, 10 years old, they don't value their own input anymore. They kind of quiet that voice.
Well, if you grew up in my house where there were 7 girls and 2 boys, you know.
Yikes. Yeah.
And they were all powerful.
It's a noisy household.
Well, you sort of learn to run a government almost with that amount in the family and everybody being strong. So, you know, I'm pragmatic and poor, and tell you, you kind of grow all kinds of coping skills and balls on top of it.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering if Ram and Tara have anything else to add. If anyone wants to hear Representative Ortez's speech, all you have to do is Google her name.
Hello? Hello?
I can hear you. You there?
Yeah, what happened to our sister?
Which one?
Caroline? We didn't hear the last part if Caroline finished, and
she wants you to talk.
Okay. So I was just thinking out loud about that young lady, AOC, and that what I got from what I heard on the Tom Hartman show is that there is, there is nothing more important than to, don't let anybody take away your power. Don't ever, that's what she learned. And you might say, I was talking to another sister, and she was asking, what's the significance of Joy Reid showing up, on the MSNBC board at 5 to 6 Mountain? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sorry, I fell off the call, but I'm back now. Go ahead.
I thought there was something about that. Well, yes, thank you, sister. So I was just saying that Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she actually denounces, the sexiest slur by Ted Yoho, Representative Ted Yoho. I got to go back to that because both Mr. X said something about, this is all tied in, about Joy Reid's first of her next series of primetime shows, because she ended a 4-year show called AM Joy for 2 hours each Saturday and Sunday morning on MSNBC. And what she has done is collected many journalists that you might say would be Faction 3 White Knights that would come on and speak. And it's interesting now because in the first show she had Joe Biden for her first guest, and she had Hillary Clinton for the last one. And the whole setting was like lavender purple, the station itself. And she completely changed she's had been wearing different hairdos and wig assessments and things like that. So that's gone, and she's in her natural, just wearing a natural. And it's just very centered and very much bringing up the soft and gentle yet firm nature that she carries. And that was the same presentation back at the BET Awards, which is a good month ago now.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Entertainment Television Awards. And she awarded Bianca for being the most, what you might say, philanthropistic in her work with what she's done, from working with children with all kinds of handicap situations and working with mental health for people, and getting right there and being with people that are in the process of experiencing what people can see that is benefiting for what she's doing. I'm saying that all of this now is a beginning of the new, of the support system, you might say, the foundation to actually publicly enact Nasara law to the world.
Yes.
Got a complimentary thing to say, Ralph?
I can just say that as things are rolling out right now with the energies, it is moving so fast, and as you just take a moment to breathe in, breathe out, get centered, it has changed in a matter of seconds.
It has.
And it is about how in each moment we're being asked to just be in this now moment. And then there's now, and now, and now. And anything else is past tripping or future tripping, and it throws you a curveball.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why all the masters are just saying, stay in this now moment, whatever now might be to you. And that's a challenge in each now moment.
Knowing the history and rethinking with the heart how to make changes. Yes? Okay. Oh, great. All right, Rama, anybody else? Caroline, do you hearing anything? Or Omena from your people?
Thank you so much. We do have a guest on the line, but do you feel that you've finished your update? We don't want to cut you off if you've got another couple of minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to ask you, did the collective say anything to you, or Omena, did you hear anything from, I don't know, Saint Germain, Archangel Michael?
I can ask Saint Germain. Do you hear anything coming from Saint Germain, Omena?
The only thing Saint Germain is saying is that the threat is not big enough yet for him to interfere.
Oh boy. All right.
Well, no, the reason being is because the tide is turning slowly from within the party, and Saint Germain and his group are waiting to see if they're going to follow through with their mission this time. If not, they're doomed. So that's where they're not interfering with the free will choice for people to find out what they're made of, so to speak, on a soul level, because it's going to create different ramifications for each individual soul that's sitting back chewing their nails and afraid to move. He's one man, for God's sakes. One man. You know? He's one man. And it's like they're sitting there just sort of, it's almost tragically funny. It's almost like he has to exhaust himself before anybody does anything. The toddler has to exhaust himself. You know, when a toddler is running around the house and driving you nuts, and that you have to let them exhaust themselves because they don't hear nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
You're
it's
right.
kind of like that.
Yeah, and
absolutely. And I'm also getting from Saint Germain that he's saying, don't try for their tricks. Don't try, sorry.
Right.
Don't fall for their tricks and their traps. Just the instant you feel yourself going into fear and believing the propaganda, just step back and let go. He's just making this motion like, you know, you would throw off something wretched that had to attach itself to you.
And on another level, the governors are planning. That's all I can say. They are planning.
Interesting. All right. All right.
So have faith.
Omena, who did you say are planning?
The governors.
State governors.
State governors.
Good idea. Get it all. Work it together. Yes.
Well, they're not going to allow Hitler into their states.
Well, hurry up, because he just ordered them.
He's already invaded a few with his Stasi. He's already invaded a few of them. But
Chicago today. That was the order that he put out.
He put out the order. Did anything happen? Do you know?
I don't know.
Nothing yet. I don't think they've arrived yet. He's threatening.
Well, he ordered it. That's what I can say. And he's not just threatening. He ordered it today.
Have faith, everybody. Put it out there. Put those blocks of energy out there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all here. They're all here. There's no way. Just a matter of what they're deciding to do about what, when. Don't you say that.
Each state has a National Guard. Think about it. They can order the National Guard to defend their rights. It's a good thing I don't have any power.
You don't even say that. You use the more and more power you can shake a stick at, Lady Master.
Well, you know what I mean.
I understand. Don't let them take that away from anybody.
But I can tell you I know the person is here. I had a very strange experience during the week. And I'll make it very quickly. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm doing a little meditation. And the next thing, I'm right in the Oval Office in front of you know who. And this energy comes out of me because he said, what in the world's name are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. Get out of here. And out of this huge big voice came out, shut the F up and sit down. And he sat down like a baby. And then he got a telling off. I don't remember that part because I wasn't supposed to. Any of you can check out and see if that really happened because that's kind of weird for me. But anyway.
What really happened there, Omena? What do you say?
Well, that happened I was bilocated to the Oval Office with a message for Mr. Trump, and I always sometimes question that, and I'm saying, because all this huge energy came out and told him to shut the F up and sit down, and he did. I don't know what message he got after that because I wasn't privy to it.
Okay, hold on a minute, Omena, because I'm seeing on the board that, no, we can't hear anything you're saying at all, Caroline. We didn't even know you were talking, if that's what you mean.
Right. Okay, I will silence myself.
Oh, well,
She's going out and coming back. I said anyone that wants to check out to see if that was real for me, that's fine.
So you want to ask Mother, it was Omena's really going for a little visit to the Oval Office? Did she get bilocated there? Do you remember communicating with the president in the?
No, I just had to get his attention, tell him to sit down, be quiet and listen, and then he got the message, but I don't remember the message he got. All I remember is the energy was very, very powerful, because that's what it took to get his attention and make him sit.
That could be.
There you are,
Okay.
Caroline. I hear you.
Can everyone hear me now? Is that all right? Can you hear me now?
I can hear
Yes.
We're going in and out.
Excellent.
Caroline.
you. You are going in and out, though, Caroline. You're going in and out.
Okay. All right. We'll do what we can. Boy,
There's
okay.
a little bit of an echo, but we can hear you.
Well, an echo is not a bad thing.
No, it
sec.
kind of emphasizes hearing the sounds more rounded out. It's okay.
All right. I'm just trying to close down a few things because I probably got too much up on my computer. So that can definitely.
Okay. Well, I could say something. Oh,
All right.
Vinayak, we can't hear you. You're far away, though.
Gosh.
Everybody
Okay.
mute out so that Caroline is clear.
That's all right. Okay, yeah, that would be good if everybody could mute out, please. Yeah, thank you. So let me introduce our guest for this evening. Von D. Galt is an author who has studied Buddhism for 4 decades. She compiled 20 years of scientific research in her book, Buddhist Mandalas, Explore Parallel Realities with Sacred Geometry, which she wrote during this COVID-19 pandemic. And that's out on Amazon now. She spent her whole life studying awakening, ascension, and manifesting parallel realities using consciousness through her spiritual tradition of Buddhism. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Washington and her MBA in e-business management from Westwood College of Technology. Aside from being an author, she is a working mom in the IT industry. She lives in Seattle, Washington with her husband and 2 children. So welcome, Vaughn. It is great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's really good to have you here because this book holds so much wisdom and it's a fascinating mix. It's kind of a really lovely example of what you're actually discussing in the book, because we seem to be at a crossroads in American culture, especially where there is a division. Apparently, people are claiming there's a division between, say, religion and science. And they'll say, no, some people say the world is only 6,000 years old because that's what it says in the Bible or what have you. And others will say there's no such thing as climate change and whatnot, and science gets left behind. And in this book, Buddhist Mandalas, you really exemplify how spirituality, which is different from religion, of course, but spirituality and science are completely the same. They're one thing. It's that we have narrow ideas about it. Would you say that that's true?
That is exactly true. And in 20 years of following the scientific research in the collaboration between many Buddhist monks and nuns that I follow, into their collaboration with academia in the West and around the world, after studying 20 years of the findings that they discovered in studying consciousness, meditation, mindfulness, and all areas of metaphysics, what was discovered is that much of the ancient knowledge that has been in the Buddhist tradition, much of it still stands the test of science in the modern times. and also some of the fuzzy ancient understandings of certain things got clarified as well. So it was a really nice collaboration and initiative that the Dalai Lama and many, many other monks and nuns in this tradition were doing about 20 years ago when they first started this. But let's rewind back a little bit. And for people who aren't familiar with myself, I'm Von Galt. And basically, what got me into this space of talking about ascension, awakening, and the fifth dimension really started from childhood. So I'm Laos, and I was raised in the Buddhist tradition my whole life, so I've known this my whole life. And these are not New Age terms. Awakening and ascension and the fifth dimension are foundational principles in the philosophy. But as I was growing up in the monasteries and going to different monasteries growing up, a lot of the monks and nuns would spend most of their time going over the ABCs, which is basically how not to be a douchebag in this life, so that you come back, if you choose to come back and have the experience, a physical experience again, come back with the same soul groups and try to make right what you did wrong, because you learn from firsthand experience in your life review all the different things that you created and that you inflicted on other people. So that's what they spent most of the time teaching in the temples that I would go to. And so I got that basic lesson very early on. And so what I ended up doing most of the time was going off and studying the art murals, the art history, and I was really fascinated with Buddhist mandalas, sacred geometry, and all the imagery that's all over the temples and over the canon. I would ask the monks and nuns, what does this mean and what does that mean? And so I really kind of branched off from all the other children and just kind of got my own education away from sitting there and listening to the same ABCs lessons that most people need to learn over and over again with the Wheel of Dharma. So what ended up happening is about 20 years ago, I'm familiar with the material, so it was just for my own personal development and for manifesting my own parallel realities and personal Mandela effects. But 20 years ago, I started to follow the collaboration of monks and nuns going into academia. And like I said, I followed 20 years of their work to see what other new material can they add to the canon, and that we can find out about how consciousness creates reality. And so in following that 20 years of work and in that collaboration, I did my normal life. I completed college. I met my husband. I had kids. I got a corporate job in IT, which is very creative. And what ended up happening is that I never factored in was more people were going to have awakenings and spiritual awakenings, and more people were going to have their own personal Mandela effect, where they had shifts in their reality that is different than they experienced previously. And so all this research information that I found entertaining birthed out this book, which is Buddhist Mandalas, Explore Parallel Realities with Sacred Geometry. So I had so much material from all these studies that I actually had to break it into a 3-book volume, and this is just the first one. And this one, this one's the first one. And this one has a beautiful, beautiful goddess, Kuan Yin, and she is a female Buddha, and she reached Buddhahood in her lifetime and decided not to go into nirvana, but decided to kind of keep on coming back to help people as a global collective consciousness reach Buddhahood and then walk through nirvana together. So, since everybody's infinite and everything is infinite, there's no rush. So, and that's how she saw it. And she oftentimes comes in times of great healing and transition, like right now.
Fantastic. We so need her right now as well.
Oh yes,
But,
yes. So she's wonderful. But the first book, the interesting thing about this book, for all the listeners out there, is if you've ever been fascinated, like myself, with sacred geometry and seeing sacred geometry in all these major religions, what I ended up finding out in the 20 years of research into what they used to call fringe science, but now it's just main science. But in my 20 years of research, what I ended up discovering was that all of these major religions that have sacred geometry in them all talk about the same thing. They're all talking about your Merkaba. They're talking about your light body. So whether it's the Sri Yantra in the Hindu tradition, or it's the yang symbol in Zen, or it's Ezekiel's wheel, and all those sacred symbols that he's found in the Bible, or if it's your Merkaba in Judaism, or if it's the whirling logs in Native American tribal traditions, and the list goes on. But all these different ways that these different traditions throughout history and throughout the different religious and spiritual canon that we have are all talking about the same thing. And I actually discovered the science of each one of those symbols and explained it in this book. So it's a scientific book that all religions are talking about your Merkaba. And your Merkaba is what you are. Everyone is energy. And everyone has a unique sacred geometric form, which you carry with you lifetime after lifetime. And it can evolve or de-evolve depending on how you live your life and experience reality. But your bodies are just your sim. It's just for the role of what you play in the story, in the experience that you play in this lifetime and in other lifetimes. But your Merkaba is what is real. Your energy is what is real. And everyone right now can go and see exactly what their Merkaba looks like. There's a website you can go to. And it's developed by two engineers who do sound research for medical and science. But in the last couple of years, they offered it to the public. So people can, for not that much, go to the website. They can record their voice, send it to the engineers at Simoscope on their website called Sound Made Visible. So soundmadevisible.com. And they will play your recording into the machine, and it will show up what your mandala looks like, what your Merkaba looks like. So everybody has a unique one. You can go and see what your energy looks like. It's science.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
So
it's really.
It's a readout of your particular energy signature. And what's fascinating to me in this book is that you really cross the line. You step well beyond where most New Age beliefs and ideas and writings are just stuck in. Because you're not saying everybody just has a particular energy signature. You're saying you are an energy signature.
You are energy. That's all you are.
I love
you
it.
are energy, and you can go and see it. Everybody is a sphere. They're an orb. They're a sphere that has a unique sacred geometric design to it. And if you go to our website, you can see all the different mandalas that everybody has. So just like in Buddhist spiritual tradition, we have the tradition of drawing your mandala. And those mandalas are actually the energies of different teachers. And so what they used to do in ancient times is they used to, and they still do now, they used to use singing bowls of water, and they would chant the sonic vibration, and then that sonic vibration would show a unique Merkaba or a unique mandala. in our tradition, and they would quickly sketch what the design was. And so, for example, they found this in science when they did the same exact thing in sound research and cymatics, is that when you say om, the om tone in sound research, that sound translates to the Sri Yantra symbol. The Sri Yantra symbol is Om, which also translates to 432 hertz, which is the hertz frequency of a human being. So the universe is very creative in all these different expressions of creating this pattern. And sound research has discovered that as well, that every single person has a unique Merkaba. And the thing that's unique about your Merkaba is that your Merkaba is your consciousness. It is your level of energy, and that Merkaba is the vessel in which takes you from one parallel reality to another parallel reality. And it is the energy field that heals people, that comes in close to your proximity, because your energy field affects other people and also the matrix in which you exist in. It also helps you for immunity and keeps you healthy and keeps you strong. And there's a lot of benefits with a high calibrating Merkaba. And everybody can work on their spiritual development and increase that energy field.
This is something I'll ask you about as well. Let me just jump in quickly, because again, what all of us happy New Age types will say is you can transform a situation by sending a lot of light to it, and you raise your vibration, and that helps to raise the vibration of everyone in the room. But what you're saying in the book is that, as you put it, an awakened Buddha does not change reality. Instead, they shift to another reality. They leave a little positive residue that slightly uplifts the last reality they reside, but actually they moved on. And so you're saying it's a parallel timeline, or it's another iteration of the same timeline, or I don't know.
So right. So let me explain some basic the Buddhist perspective. And we found this in science to be true as well, and the book goes over the science. But an awakening, a spiritual awakening, is basically someone who realizes that they exist in a holographic reality that is responding to the commands of its user. And that results in conscious creating both individually and collectively. Okay? So it's somebody who has finally woken up to realization that they are energy, so they are a soul having a human experience. And this is all very, very real for the game in which the soul is playing. This is a game for the consciousness. And so when you have your awakening, you start noticing nuances in your reality. You start noticing your personal Mandela effects, where an old tree in your neighborhood that was never there before is all of a sudden there for the first time. You may notice that somebody has more or less children than you remember experiencing with them the day before. You may notice somebody in your family who has an injury on the right leg, whereas you vividly remember that they broke their left leg. So these kind of nuances in your personal life, and you're realizing this and going, is reality fluid? Those are your signs that you're waking up within the matrix. We're waking up within the dream. That's an awakening, and that there can shock some people. There's always the fun stuff like Mandela effect. You can go to lots of different websites to test your memory about, did Nelson Mandela die in jail, or did he die a couple of years ago as the president of South Africa? When you go to the store, has it always been Jif peanut butter, or was it Jif Jiffy, like Jiffy and Skippy, the competition.
Yeah.
You know, when you were growing up, you know, do you remember Ed McMahon had delivered the Publishers Clearinghouse checks? You remember those commercials very vividly, but now all of a sudden Publishers Clearinghouse in this reality is saying that they never did that, and they never hired Ed McMahon to deliver those checks. So there is no prize van. You know, so these personal Mandela effects are happening to you, and they're happening to more and more people. And so you're wondering, is reality fluid? Well, that's some nuances that you are having an awakening, and you're realizing that reality is fluid. The second part of this is ascension. And in Buddhism, ascension is basically raising your energetic frequency by living the best version of you. And as a result, you positively affect not only yourself, but those around you. And by leveling up your Merkaba to Christ consciousness, it activates your six senses as you work towards Buddhahood and eventually cross the final doorway to Nirvana. Okay? So ascension is just raising your frequency and raising your energy level. And as you raise your level of consciousness, that Merkaba gets much more refined, much more dense. It starts building more complexity because you're advancing. You're raising the energy field. Okay, that's what ascension is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So basically,
yeah,
makes perfect sense. Perfect. So basically, if you have your awakening, and it's a series of awakenings, because some people will have their awakening symptoms and it will kind of scare them a little bit because they're realizing that they're shifting from one reality to another, where they're realizing that people in their life seem to be completely different people, seem to have completely new experiences of history that you never heard of before, and you know everything about them. Or they seem to have a personality or trait that is completely new, where, you know, maybe they never liked mustard on anything, and now all of a sudden they love it. They've always loved it, and they don't know what you're talking about. You know, these are parallel people because they are parallel realities. And in Buddhism, when you change your perspective on things, and when you work on your awakening and leveling up your energy field, you are going to shift to a parallel reality that matches your new frequency. And that parallel reality already has a version of you and everybody else in it, but your consciousness shifted to that version, and now you're experiencing a new body of you with a parallel reality. So it's like if you're looking in the mirror, and if you want to change the reflection, you have to smile first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is brilliant. Thank you so much. Because I wasn't raised in the Buddhist tradition, but it's always fascinated me. And I would even go to, I'm sure I speak for a lot of people here, and I would even go to a Buddhist temple sometimes when I lived in Los Angeles and learned how to chant, and didn't understand how powerful the mandalas, these sacred geometric shapes, are, not only to that one mode of thought that is Buddhism, but just to human life in general. And you point out in the book that these symbols, these beautiful geometric symbols, appear in temples all over the place. You know, let me see here. In Celtic imagery, in the Mayan temples, the symbols now they're within Metatron's cube, and you talk a lot about Metatron's cube. If you want to address that, that's great. But I just want to point out it shows up in a lot of traditions. The ancient Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Freemasons, their temples, absolutely. Judaism, Hinduism, the Mayan temples, Celtic imagery, ancient Egyptian imagery, all the many more ancient lost civilizations, whereby all we have symbols decorating temples.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, it seems to be that it hasn't been emphasized in Western thought as being that important, because these symbols are potent and maybe they empower us in some way, I don't know, but
Right.
to the Far East, it's part of life. And
Yes,
it's
yes.
so,
These symbols are you. In Buddhism, we have the term Christ consciousness, or in the West, you would call Christ, and
yeah.
it's basically your crystalline consciousness. Your crystalline consciousness comes from the word krystala, which is Krysthl, and that, if you break that down, it comes down to ka, ra, sa, la, which is the 7 sacred geometry tones of creation in your Merkaba. Mer means light, ka means spirit, and ba means body. So your Merkaba is your light body that will take you through multiverses and dimensions and cosmos, and the way in which to navigate that light body, that Merkaba, and have much more smooth experiences between one reality to another, is to work on your awakening and leveling up your ascension. And that perfects your Merkaba. In Islam, they call it Hi'a, which is Allah is inside you. Mm-hmm. The Lord is traveling through your Merkaba, experiencing reality and itself through you. So it is that crystalline consciousness inside everyone equally.
Fantastic.
And it's been proven in science.
Can I ask a question?
That's what's so fascinating. Yes, sure, Omena, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, no, I want to know, how do you find your own mandala at your website?
No, you have to go to the website soundmadevisible.com.
Yes.
Soundmadevisible.com. And if you go there, you go to shop, and you look for a DNA voice signature. It's a service that they offer. And then you can go in there and you can pick what you want created. So if you want your individual DNA signature created or image, you can pick that package. There's also a couples package, which is very fun and interesting, because oftentimes they can image your voice of both couples and then send you the merged image so you can see and look at them. And what's fascinating is many couples, especially if they've been together for a very long time or they really resonate with each other, they're Merkabahs, but in this website they call it DNA voice signatures, but it's the same thing. Their mandalas are very, very similar. And I just got mine done, and I just got my husband's done. And we are both a 12-fold geometry, which means there's 12 nodes of intersection points in a sphere, which is us, in both our Merkabahs. So we're very equal to each other. But what was very interesting was that for my husband and I, a 12 intersecting node Merkaba is only 10 to 20% of the population. So only 10 to 20% of the population that they typically get will have this much complexity, which means that we're very, very old souls. We've had a couple go-arounds on this wheel of Dharma.
Wow. I've never even heard of
fun.
That, that's so fascinating.
It's really, really fun. It's funny because when I saw my Merkaba for the first time, I was so excited because when they imaged my Merkaba, my Merkaba, you get a 2-dimensional image which looks like a platonic solids, like in math, but it's actually a 3D sphere. But my Merkaba has the wheel of Dharma. It's an 8-rod wheel of Dharma. And in the end of each spoke in the wheel, there's a lion's head on the end of each spoke, which I love animals, so I'm very happy to have animals in mine. And I actually look at the image of a lion, and it looks exactly like a lion's head. So it's really hilarious. And then the 12 nodes of intersection points for the energy lines. In Buddhism, that is the 12 ninandas, which is a list of 12 characters that cause a soul to come back through the life experience, through the samsara, through the wheel dharma. So, which is really funny. I showed that to the monks that I knew growing up, and they were really happy to see that they were right all along, because when I was growing up, in many of the different monasteries that I went to, and even when we went to Asia and Laos to visit the ones that my mother and father would help fund art construction of, the senior monks, even in the middle of meditation or in the middle of chants amongst a crowd full of people, would stop what they're doing to look and see who just walked in. And it was oftentimes my family. And we just quietly sat in to just, participate. But they would often ask, do you want to teach us something? And I would say, no, I don't have anything to teach. I'm just a little girl. And they would say, no, you're not. No, you're not. You have things to teach us, and I need a break. So I said, no, I want to go play. So that was just a funny experience that would happen over and over again at many monasteries growing up. And many of them said, in the spirit world, you have a job, and your job is a life planner. And a life planner is someone that helps people pick out their excursions and help guide them in planning their life in whichever planet, universe, dimension they want to experience creation through again. If they don't want to go through nirvana and get reabsorbed with the universal one mind. So that was what my childhood was oftentimes when we would go to these different monasteries. And it was funny to see my Merkaba image by Simoscope, and it has the fundamental symbols of Buddhism in it. So the monks were just delighted to find out that they were accurate, and that I eventually realized that I have the knowledge to teach the infinite game. And much of that knowledge has been brought forth in the book Buddhist Mandalas.
Yeah, it carries a beautiful energy signature. The book itself, is its own energy signature. That's why I say the whole book exemplifies what you're discussing. So we take that in on a left brain, the discussion, the ideas, the words. But meanwhile, I felt very engaged on a spirit sort of level and on a, intuitive, symbolic level with the book. So I think you really have achieved your aims there. I'm just wondering, you talk about in the book about someone, I don't know if I'm coming across very clearly because I'm having Skype issues, but anyway, many people feel that this is now a fifth dimensional planet, and that some people are taking on fifth dimensional frequencies. And I channeled information that said the only reason you still see 3D forms around you, the old third dimensional narrowness, is because people are investing in it energetically. That's what they expect to see.
Right. So let me explain that.
Okay.
Yes. And I will explain that part in the book where I explain the shift into the fifth dimension. So we're going to time travel a little back to 2012. That funny year that was kind of interesting that everybody remembers. So between 2010 and 2012, many indigenous cultures throughout the world did the 2012 awakening ceremonies. And you had the chiefs of Easter Island, you had chiefs of the Mayan, you had Native American chiefs, you had Buddhists. And what we did was we did our own version of awakening. And we didn't do anything spectacular. We just completed a ceremony that we've waited thousands of years for. And for some reason, many of these indigenous traditions, including Buddhism, kept this knowledge. And so there's some speculation amongst the Buddhist community that maybe these are remnants of Lemuria. But that's a different subject. So we did these awakening ceremonies between 2010 to 2012 to close out the cycle of polarity, close out the cycle of separatism, and welcome in a new energy to Earth, which is the energy of unity consciousness. And unity consciousness is basically a fifth-dimensional energy. And what was interesting is this actually fulfilled a Buddhist prophecy that we've had for many thousands of years about entering the fifth dimension, where humanity kind of grows up and gets to a level in their consciousness, collective consciousness, where they reach a higher dimension, where they enter the golden age of humanity with an interstellar future, and we are finally able to communicate and live peacefully amongst higher beings of the universe, of the galactic. So that's a little bit sci-fi, but that is the prophecy, the Buddhist prophecy that started from 2012 when we closed out a cycle. So what was interesting is in the last 20 years of doing research for this book, Buddhist Mandalas, one of the research projects that I followed for 20 years is following the Schumann resonance of Earth. And basically since 1999, the Institute of Noetic Sciences, Heart Math Institute, and Princeton University started this project where they wanted to find out, is the indigenous beliefs in all these different traditions about Earth being alive and responding to us, is it true? And you can go to the website right now and you can look at 20 years of different events worldwide with the science, and the website is newsphere.princeton.edu through the Global Consciousness Project. And basically what they found in 20 years of mapping this out is that they put 70 random number generators all over the world. And whenever the electromagnetics of the Earth would have a spike, like around these random number generators, something would happen, like an earthquake, a tsunami, or a major event like 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, just other events like that. And what they found is that the Earth, when she has these spikes, people, just like animals, hours before the event happens, start responding. We start getting anxiety, we start getting headaches, we start getting backaches, we start feeling off. Just like animals, when they feel an impending event happening in nature, they all squirrel and run to high ground. They try to retreat. We do the same exact thing. And so we are connected to the Earth. The Earth is alive. We are responding to her. The biggest magnetic field is the Earth. And as well, what they found also is that the indigenous traditions were also correct in that she responds to us. So when you have millions of people in a certain area around these seismology random number generators are feeling a big event like 9/11, because our heart fields send out an energy 5,000 times greater than your brain energy. And if millions of people are feeling this and sending out this pulse, the Earth feels it too, and she makes those spikes. And so it goes both ways. The interesting thing also with looking over 20 years of this research, which again, everyone can go to the website newsphere.princeton.edu and take a look at 20 years of scientific evidence on different events that they picked up, is that they looked at 72 different countries, and they, between 1749 and 1926, there's actually a scientist called Alex Chevesky, and he studied solar sun cycles during these spikes in the Schumann resonance. And what they found is that 80% of big events like wars and social renaissance happen during these spikes. 80% of the history in 72 countries worldwide. And so this is what the science tells us. It tells us that whenever Earth has her leaps or her spikes in frequency, it's going to amplify everything that you are. So if you are low frequency, low consciousness, very dense, third dimensional person, it's going to bring up all of your inner demons and your dark night of the soul. Everything is going to come up. All your tax evasion, everything is going to come up. As well as the flip side. If you've already worked on your repressed issues, your dark night of the souls, your dense triggers, all those conditionings that have brought down your frequency and energy, and you've worked on that, you've done the self-help work, it's going to bring up more of what you are. And if all you are is positivity and creativity, if you're a creative person, you're going to be more creative. You're going to be more abundant. If you are looking for opportunities, you're going to have more opportunities. It's going to bring up what you are. So at this time, what they found, in short, is that the Schumann resonance typically, for normal frequency, is 7.83 hertz. But over the course of the last 20 years, especially with all these different events happening to her body and also to the world, that she is responding to some of them and not others, that part they don't know about. But now she's having these big jumps from 7.83 to 14 to 20 to 30 to 50. She's making leaps. And so it's like this analogy, and just to kind of wrap your brain around what these leaps mean. If you're sailing in the ocean and you're used to sailing in a third-dimensional way, and the wind changes and kind of takes up speed a little bit, but you don't notice a difference, so you do the same thing. No problem. But then all of a sudden, a big whoosh of wind comes through, and you're still doing the same thing. You're still sailing the boat the same third-dimensional way. And the wind picks up even more speed, and bigger whooshes come through, and you're still doing the same thing and getting frustrated. Because what's happening is you need to realize that the energy has changed, and that you need to pick up your sails, put them up, get your crew together, work in unity consciousness in collaboration together instead of being a solo third-dimensional act, so that you can take advantage of the change in energy. And those couple of knots of changes will hopefully take you to a different part of the earth that's hopefully more beautiful and pristine than the one that you're at. So the earth is picking up steam and not making baby steps anymore. She's making leaps every time she does these spikes. And she's taking us to a completely different parallel reality, which exists in a higher dimension of the fifth dimension. And we're in it right now, but everybody thinks we're still in the third dimension. And so doing the same third dimensional things, expecting the same third dimensional outcomes, and they're getting the dark night of the souls, and the gunk on the bottom of the ocean is coming up for them to transmute. And they don't realize that they need to work on that, because if they don't work on that, it's going to compound and compound and get so much worse. That's why the bad news gets so much worse, because no one is realizing that the energy has changed and that you need to start working in a fifth dimensional and use these tools of the fifth dimension in a way that's going to be positive and work in unity to get further faster. That's why everything's moving faster and that things manifest faster, because we're in the higher dimensions. Does that make sense?
That is brilliant. Thank you so much. That was going to be my next question, because if the planet is taking in these beautiful energies, from the sun, the planet is descending. Would you say, like you're talking about individuals, but would you say as a collective, as a group on this planet right now, we're playing out our worst fears, we're playing out our worst aspects, some of us, the pandemic situation, police violence, like global warming, it's taking place on a huge collective level, not only an individual one.
Exactly. Because one, in this experience, there's two experiences. One, you're having your individual experience. And your Merkaba and your energy that you emit out of your Merkaba will influence your personal reality. But because your bubble is in a bigger pool of bigger bubbles, other bubbles, we're all playing in the same sandbox. So together we kind of influence each other. But here's the thing that we found in science through meditation research since Maharishi from the 60s. And they've done the same experiments thousands of times in universities all around the world, and they still do it, and they get the same effect. And what they found is that it only takes 1% of a population to meditate at gamma wave frequencies, which are these higher brainwave frequencies, to affect 99% of the people around them. So the 99% of the people who are doing much of the third dimensional things don't know that they are actually being affected by the higher frequency people who are resonating at these higher levels. And so they're actually fixing and cleaning up their act because of the influence and the energy field of 1% of humanity who is doing this work.
Wow. So that's an interesting concept, because we're always saying the 99%, meaning all the people, and then there's this little group of 1% or 0.1%, and they hold all the cards. But what you're saying is energetically, it's actually the other way around.
It's actually the other way around. Yeah, it's actually the other way around. But like I said, people don't realize that their consciousness is what changes reality, and science has proven this. And so we're sitting here trying to fix the picture on the mirror and wiping it and forcing it and everything else, and we're not looking at the person causing it.
Yeah, perfect. That is so great. I'm just wondering if we could talk about ley lines for a bit, which you did mention.
Yes.
But I mean, this was so cool, I thought, and I've certainly heard of ley lines, but you mentioned what we've talked about on this show at other times, which is that most of the ancient temples and monuments around the world, the pyramids, the pagodas, other monolithic structures, were intentionally placed clearly along Earth's magnetic lines, the magnetic grid of the ley lines. And there was a gentleman, Sir Alfred Watkins, who used a dowsing rod in 1921, and you mentioned that he just in the book that he discovered that many, if not all of them, are built right on top of the sacred geometric, the access points, the points where these ley lines meet, where they cross. And it could be a huge gathering of energies. And, you mentioned all people are connected to the largest magnetic field, which is Earth itself. And you say the frequency she sends out through her axis points recalibrates animals and human beings, and probably even plants as well. And this is so fascinating to me. Do you feel that we're being, I think you even said, she talks to us, she influences us, not just us influencing her. And, that you're mentioning, since people and animals are energy beings, the earth will amplify whatever positive or negative energy those beings
whatever
radiate.
you are.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel that one sometimes supersedes the other? Or are we always in a position of being stewards of the earth, and we're determining her vibration because she's receiving higher light all the time? I think she's ahead of us.
Oh, she is ahead of us. She's not waiting for us. She's been waiting for us for a long time, and now the time has run out for her to wait for us. Yeah. She started baby leaps. Now she started taking baby jumps. Now she's taking leaps. She's taking big leaps forward to the fifth dimension because she can't wait for us to get her act together. So if you want to go with her, you have to do your awakening and ascension work. You have to work on on learning to use these fifth-dimensional tools of faster manifestations of whatever you are, to thrive in the fifth dimension. And so the people who are doing this work, who are learning how to use these tools positively, are going to thrive in the fifth dimension and have a wonderful time. Now, because they are going to thrive in the fifth dimension with Earth, and as these energies come in more and more and fuller, more people will have awakening. More people will start leveling up their frequency and having more sixth senses that could possibly freak them out, come into their reality. They're going to start seeing dark shadow figures. They're going to start hearing other people's energy. Things will start moving when they think about it. Somebody will call them right as they're thinking about it. They could be creating like a radio program, and you'll get an email that answers the exact question. Things are working much faster in these realities, in this higher energy. But at the same way, you have to know how to use the tools. And so there are plenty of souls who are coming into the fifth dimension because they're being pulled along at whatever consciousness they're at by these 1 to 3% of humanity that is moving forward with Earth. They're getting pulled along, and they're struggling because they're still trying to live in the fifth dimension with third dimensional methods that no longer work, and they're falling apart, and they're getting frustrated, and they just need to learn the game has changed. And so if you're going to amplify what you are, and what you're sending out is negativity, you're sending out fear and all these other things, it's going to amplify what you are. So if you're afraid of snakes and spiders, you're going to have a colony of them in your backyard. Okay? So if you're afraid of that tax evasion that's going to come back to you, the IRS is going to knock at your door. So deal with it. Work on those triggers and those dense issues that you've repressed, because in these energies, they will come up for you to resolve them, or they will really take you down. And you have taken plenty of people down in these realities. You'll start seeing even more people coming out of the closet with their inner demons, trying to work and address it and go, this is what I've done. I'm so sorry. I'm working on fixing this. I'm going to make it right. Because they can no longer keep these down and hidden, because it's going to come up one way or another. And it's best to just start working on them now than later, because later it's going to be so much worse. And so there's plenty of souls that are exiting this reality because they're going on the other side going, so how was the fifth dimension? You made it. And they're going, it was horrible. I really wanted to cheat and lie and steal, but I got caught. I didn't plan on getting caught. I just planned on having fun doing it. They're like, well, you can't do it in the fifth dimension. You knew that. So that's exactly what's happening, and will continue to happen even more.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So great. What you're saying, I've been channeling over the past couple of months exactly that information. But my question is this maybe not new information? Is this something that the Buddhist monks would have known when you were little, or even 1,000 years ago?
Oh, yeah. They've known it for almost 2,600 years and longer. Buddhism actually is an offshoot of Hinduism, and the Vedas of Hinduism, because Siddhartha Gautama, or Sakyamuni, the first Buddha, he came up with the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Paths through meditation. But he's from Aryan Indian family, from a Hindu faith system. And Hinduism is about 7,000 years old, and they speculate, because the astrology in the Vedas, that it could be almost 26,000 years old. So we're going to go to a different topic about ancient Lemuria, but that's a whole totally different subject. And there's a lot of Buddhist folklore that kind of goes into the mega flood of Lemuria. But many of the spiritual folklore carries on through the Vedas that go into Buddhism. So Buddhism, like I said, is not a religion. It's a spiritual practice. And we continue to add to the canon. That's all we ever do. So all the scientific information is being added to the canon to further back up and clarify our understanding of our metaphysical world. But I want to really quickly also, I don't think I've properly answered your question about the grid lines of Earth. All of all of those grid lines of Earth, those high magnetic field lines of Earth, that is like the nodes where all the energy lines intersect through. Earth herself has a Merkaba. Just like every human being has their own Merkaba, their own sacred geometry sphere energy field, and they have different nodes where the energy lines intersect through. Earth has that. And those nodes where the high energy points are at, they're all of equal length from another, mathematically. And typically that is, like animals, most major cities reside in these high frequency nodes on Earth. Okay? And oftentimes, like pyramids, churches, those type of structures are built on top of the exact points of these high magnetic field markers around Earth, because that is where the energy will amplify, and that's where they're going to get the most abundance. So they're just tapping into the energy of the Earth. So the reason why I bring that forth in this book is because much of the ley line points of the Earth are amplifying and activating, which is more evidence that she is raising her energy, her Merkaba, and shifting further into a higher dimension, just like people are doing that as well.
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for that. And we have a caller, Sonia, on the line. Sonia, are you there? Do you have a question for Vaughn?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sonia.
Yes, indeed.
Hi.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I am fascinated with everything you're saying. I could stay forever here listening to you.
Oh, thank you. I have a YouTube channel on called Merkaba Chakras QHHT, and this radio interview and many others with many other libraries of works in this space is there as well. So there's plenty more for you to listen to.
Can you repeat that? You said Merkaba Chakras.
Oh, if you go to my website, Merkaba Chakras, MERKABA, Merkaba, and then chakras, like your 7 chakras.com. That's my website. And in there you'll find the link to my YouTube channel with all my interviews, the link to my author's page on Amazon with all my books and all my offerings as well. But you had a question, Sonia.
For sure. I do have a question. I am very dedicated to the ascension process and building the light body, Merkaba, and I do have a little bit of blurriness here insofar as the Merkaba shape and the sacred geometries. It was my understanding that the Merkaba is a double tetrahedron. Does it change in people? What is it that changes, the mandalas in us or the Merkaba shape of a different?
So what changes? Right. So everyone is a sphere, like a sphere, okay? And as you level up your energy, as you raise your level of consciousness based on your inner work, based on the perspectives that you have and your understanding of reality, as you, again, level up your level of consciousness, the sphere, the energy field that you are, will start building these different nodes, okay? And that is where the energy lines will start going through. And what they found is the more spiritually advanced people, the people who have higher frequency, have higher energy, and actually Dr. David R. Hawkins of the Map of Consciousness does a really good job explaining this in his work, and you can use that to calibrate what level you are in your spiritual development. But what they found, what they found is that as you do this work, your Merkaba will get more dense, it will hold more information, it will develop more sacred geometry in it, okay? The younger souls that typically are lower consciousness don't have as developed of a Merkaba, but they're all beautiful, and there is no right or wrong. everyone's going to be at the stage that they are developing at where they're supposed to be.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So yes.
Absolutely, it makes sense. So,
okay, good. So yes, your Merkaba does change. It can evolve or it can devolve depending on your spiritual development.
So where is the torus field? What comes first, the Merkaba or the torus field? What rotates the Merkaba?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The whole thing. In the book, I go over the science of the torus field. It's just basically how movement happens in the Merkaba. It moves around like a figure 8 in an apple.
So it's the infinity sign with the 0 point in the middle. Okay. Now you refer something to a wheel, the wheel and the spokes. Do the spokes represent the different timelines or incarnations of a soul? Or the oversoul? Is the sphere the oversoul? Where does the oversoul stand in all this?
The oversoul is your consciousness. The oversoul is the consciousness that lives inside you and everybody else. I actually do QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique by a author and former hypnotherapist, Dolores Cannon, which I've discovered through my 20 years of research for this book, in energy healing, which is in the next book, on different energy healing modalities. And in that hypnosis practice that I do, I have clients that come to me to uncover their soul transcript, and I oftentimes will see all the different lifetimes that they've had and where they are in their development with their awakening and ascension. And the oversoul, or God, the Lord, Allah, whatever you want to call it, will typically come through at the very end and give the person the fifth dimensional career path or fifth dimensional blueprint for how they can thrive in the fifth dimension. So that's another way in which you can understand that the same consciousness resides in everyone, having its own experience directly through your experience. Does that make sense?
Yes. So just one more quick one here then. So from the oversoul, we have the different aspects of the souls that have the different experiences and the different incarnations or whatever you...
Okay, so let me just give you a quick synopsis of Buddhist understanding of basically creation, okay? And then they found this out in science as well, through consciousness research. Basically, there is only one person here. It's called God. It's the Lord. It's the universal one mind, in which we call Buddhism. It's the same consciousness. That consciousness decided to give itself a gift. And the gift it gave was to create all these different versions of itself. So it created you, it created me, it created Caroline, it created all these different experiences, these different personas. And each and every single one of it is a fractal split of the oversoul, having its own individual experience for its own spiritual development and growth. But at the same time, the oversoul, the universal one mind, is learning and experiencing itself and the wonder of itself firsthand through you and everybody else firsthand. And it's watching you grow and develop. And it's not going to tell you what to do or how to do it because there will be no point creating you if it did it for you. So it sits and waits for you to have your awakening and ascension and grow so that it can experience your sweetness and your triumphs through you. And that's the gift it gives to itself.
Wonderful.
Wow. Really beautiful.
Thank you. I'll mute out now. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks so much. Really wonderful. I know we're at the end of the hour. If any of my co-hosts have a question, you might want to speedily deliver that. It's up to you. But I'm really full of appreciation that Vaughn is here today.
Well, I have one more last message, but this is a message I typically get. It'll take 10 seconds. I get it from all my clients from my hypnosis practice. And the hypnosis practice that I have allows me to apply all this beautiful knowledge that I have about Buddhism and metaphysics to explain a lot of what is going on with my clients to kind of apply into practice. But the Oversoul says the same thing, and it typically I put it into these phrases, and this is what the universal one mind in everyone wants everyone to know that I've found through my hypnosis practice. And it basically says this: you've always been enough. Use the gifts and the resources all around you to create a life you want to experience. A life full of joy and love. And the spirit world will nudge you through synchronicity. You can do it.
Really beautiful. Thank you so much, Vaughn. Really
Oh, you're welcome.
Wonderful to have you here. We'd love you to come back. And let's just quickly say again that your website is Merkaba Chakras. So M as in mother, ERKA, B as in boy, A, Merkaba, and then chakras, like we have the 7 chakras.com.
Yes.
Fantastic. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. So
You're
much.
welcome. I'll be happy to come back anytime.
Oh, many blessings. And
Blessings to you.
Thank you. And I really do encourage people to look into Vaughn's book. You can find it easily just, with a search in Amazon, Buddhist Mandalas, and then the subtitles explore parallel realities with sacred geometry, but probably even just if you put in Buddhist Mandalas and look for Vaughn Galt, you'll find it. So wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes.
I just wanted to say, she reminded me of home. I was just like, the walk that we've all been on, she was just touching everybody's walk.
Yes.
Yeah. There
Absolutely.
was an absolute truth there. And she had the gift of being able to weave many points of view into the one truth like that. And that's a gift. That's a timely gift right now.
Yeah, very succinctly, and it's so empowering to read these, to read this book and to hear Vaughn, because everything right now, this is what it is. This is what she's talking about. There's none of it that's not really, really powerfully relevant and incredibly useful to us right now. Yeah, wonderful.
Yes.
So.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I am working on Buddhist Mandalas Book 2, which will have the beautiful female Buddha, Tara, and her many parallel versions of herself. And Tara liberates you from the Matrix. So I'm looking forward to talking about Tara in the next time we get to that.
Oh, sister,
of the lady sister who just spoke.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I didn't know you were still there. I thought you took your leave. I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to act like I didn't talk directly to you. I'm so grateful you're still here. Thank you. I hope you heard every single word of it.
Yes.
It's very special indeed. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. So, okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And many blessings. We bless you on your way, as Marita would always say, our forebear. So, there she is. So, Dawn, music maestro, please. And we'll see what interesting Penny has chosen.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Okay.
Good night.
Absolutely.
Night. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Namaste.
Many blessings. And the music will come along eventually. Dawn with so many hats. Our producer. Always so busy. There we go.
Here it comes.